Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment of hashtag Know Your Trock, where we give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about a member of the Trocks organization. Today's installment is a real treat as we get to chat with our education coordinator, our education manager, Roy Fialkow. Hi, Roy.
Hi.
And
Hello, everyone.
Roy's a double whammy because Roy is not only the Trocks Education Manager, the current Trocks Education Manager, but Roy was one of the early members of the Trocks in the late 70s and early 1980s. So he is going to give us that perspective that people that have joined the company in more recent years cannot give us. So I have a lot of really interesting questions to ask him. I hope I have a lot of questions I want to know about. So Roy, why don't you, and hopefully we'll keep this short, but I make no promises. why don't you tell the viewers, where are you originally from and what was your training like?
So originally, I'm from Woodmere, Long Island. It's about 20 minutes from Kennedy Airport. It's kind of almost near the Atlantic Ocean. It's a very small community. It's also about 40 minutes from New York City. Mm-hmm. And for my early training, it's very, very eclectic because in Woodmere in the 1960s, when I was growing up, there really wasn't any kind of dance training for boys. Boys played Little League, basically. I did make-up dances in front of the TV to variety shows, and but that was not encouraged. It definitely was not encouraged. So around the time I was 14 and 15, I was allowed to go into New York City by myself on the Long Island Railroad. Wow. So I began to go to the Alvin Ailey School on 59th Street. And I would go every Saturday, and I took one class, jazz, with Pepsi Bethel. Truly an amazing man, and he's a legend. An incredible experience. As I got into high school, I was then I was allowed to go into the city during the week and after school, and I began to take ballet class at the Joffrey Ballet with Dorothy Lister.
Wow.
Now, I was allowed to go to the Joffrey because it was in Greenwich Village, and that was okay. And I also was allowed to go to Alvin Ailey because it was one block from Bloomingdale's.
So it must have been okay, obviously.
It was fine. It was fine. Eventually, in high school, I did expand it to include jazz class with Luigi.
Whoa.
And so that was my early training. When I went to college, I went to New York University, and I was in the School of Drama. I was not a dance person. I was an acting major, and I studied with Lee Strasberg.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very, very, very intimidating. A very intimidating experience. But while I was in NYU, I would definitely go to dance class at the Joffrey every day, and I would go uptown to take jazz class. And I began to study with a woman. She had been a Broadway dancer, Tanya Everett. And in her classes, I began to think, maybe I could really be a dancer. This might work. I don't know. That summer, between my freshman and sophomore year, I got hired as a dancer in the summer stock production of Hello, Dolly. Wow. As in the chorus, as a waiter. And I kind of really enjoyed myself as a dancer. So in the fall, when I returned to NYU and Lee Strasberg, I realized I was beyond miserable. And so I auditioned for the School of the Arts dance program that was under the chair was Stuart Hodes at the time. I'll never forget that audition. It was a ballet class, a ballet bar, and then you had to do 2 minutes of your own choreography. and I did a 2-minute piece to this Dolly Parton song, When the Sun Comes Down Tomorrow.
Of course.
And I got in, and I could not. And Stuart Hodes said, he called me and he said, you got in, and he said, I think we should make an exception, and you can come in February. It was like the mid-year.
Wow. Yeah.
So I called my parents. I told them I had auditioned for the dance program. I had been accepted, and that they were going to allow me to attend in February. And they hung the phone up on me.
Of course they did. Here's the question: was acting okay, but once you switched to dance, that wasn't okay, or they weren't so hot
acting
on the
was fine.
acting?
They were fine.
Oh.
They were fine with the acting thing. That was fine. They probably thought I was going to be the next Dustin Hoffman or something.
Yeah.
But dancing was
not fun.
After we did speak, my mother said, it's a very short shelf life. You're going to have a short career and it'll be over 1, 2, 3. You cannot dance forever. They eventually they relented, and they let me go. I did attend. So I did change like the trajectory of my life, and I changed my career path, and all that eclectic training that I had really brought me to that point. The instructors at NYU were incredible. I had Denise Jefferson, Bertram Ross from the Graham Company, Stuart Hodes from the Graham Company. I kept away from the Humphrey Weidman people and the Cunningham people.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really into them. I liked the drama of Bertram Ross, who was a real character, and Denise. And in ballet, we had Nanette Charisse and some other teachers, and the legendary Robert Blanksheen, who had danced with Joffrey.
Yeah.
Who used to teach class in Converse and go on point in his Converse. He was amazing.
That's like
but I have to
punctually training, him and his Converses on point. So.
But I have to say the teacher that really molded me to who the performer that I became was Denise Jefferson. Mm-hmm. She was intense, and she was strict, but yet very nurturing. And I always think of what she used to tell us about performing, and that in a performance situation, you were supposed to leave part of yourself on the stage. And that once you've been that was Tori.
We were interrupted by our artistic director.
That was Tori.
He will probably call me next, so we will let you know. But please continue.
So anyway, Denise said you had to have leave part of yourself on the stage, mm-hmm. and that once you finished the performance and stepped off the stage, you might not be able to take another step forward.
That's how exhausted you needed to be.
That's how exhausted. I also have to say I met a small group of actors and dancers that we worked together at NYU. Mm-hmm. And with their help and working with them, I began to realize I could access this acting training I had with dance and combine them. So that, and Denise also would tell me, you're going to be that type of dancer that utilizes that acting background because you have it, and that will make you different than mm-hmm. other people.
Did you realize, were you already able to tap into that easily by the time you come to audition to the Trocks? Tell us a little bit about how did you first hear about the Trocks and you auditioned for the company?
I have to say, when I first joined the company, I was probably like a deer caught in the headlights.
Most people are.
I had, my history with the Trocks goes back even further than NYU. In 1974, when I was a senior in high school, I got to be in a play at La Mama, mm-hmm. Experimental Theater Club on East 4th Street. And one night, someone came to the dressing room and said, does anyone want free tickets to this show across the street. It's a dance performance, and I had friends from high school, and I asked for 3 tickets, and we went. And it was across the street at the Truck and Warehouse Theater, and it happened to be the Gloxinia Trockadero Ballet Company.
Wow.
And I have to say, I was pretty much blown away by what I had seen. I had never seen anything like that in my life. Was it a light bulb moment? I don't know. I mean, I then went to college and I kind of forgot about the whole Trockadero thing until a boyfriend took me to several of the companies, that was Gloxinia, but now
the current company at the time.
A boyfriend took me to see the present company, Le Ballet Trockadero de Monte Carlo. He took me to several of the shows at the Palace Theater on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I saw that, I loved it, and I had never, and I thought, wow, this is amazing to put dance and comedy together. Wow. It did not really occur to me that I would dance with them until the 3rd year at NYU, I went and auditioned I saw an ad in Backstage, and I went and auditioned, and only to be told by Natch Taylor, Eugene McDougall, and Betty Ann Terrell that I needed to finish and graduate from NYU. My parents would want me to do that, and that come back later. Come back when you're done.
That's incredible.
So I just kind of put it out of my head, and then the next year, in the winter break before my last semester of my senior year, I auditioned for the company again. And this time they said, if Stuart Hodes will allow you to go, you're hired. So I went and I talked to Stuart, and he said, this is the most incredible idea. I think you should do this. We'll make it work. So with Stuart Hode's blessing, I was allowed to join the company in my last semester of school. I can't say that I used any of my, it was truly, I was a deer caught in the headlights. In my first performance as Von Rothbard, I broke the costume. It was this big owl costume because I ran.
Oh, yeah, right. The actual, not the one we have now, but the one that was actually like an owl.
I ran into the wings, into the wall in Omaha, Nebraska. Not good. Not a good entry. But the idea I was thinking behind Trockadero and why I would want to be in a company like that probably came from my desire in high school to run away from Long Island to San Francisco and become a coquette, which was like this
full on join the circus,
which was like a psychedelic hippie theater group. My parents told me that it would be the end of my life if I did that. They would track me down. They would hunt me down. It also probably had to do with my love of like the glam rock era, David Bowie, the New York Dolls, Bette Midler. Even in college, before I joined Trockadero, we would go see this British troupe called Blue Lips. And that probably affected me. But also, I have to say, I was kind of obsessed with this idea of how do you make dance funny? And that probably goes back to my love of like Lucille Ball. I love Lucy.
Right.
The comedian Joan Davis. And also, growing up, I did not have a very high regard for ballet because when we would watch Ed Sullivan every Sunday night, and when ballet dancers would come on, my father would create these hilarious scenarios of what they were doing on the TV, which were Very, very silly, very funny.
Worst things ever, right?
Yeah. So I never had until getting into the dance program at NYU, I hadn't seen a lot of dance. I can say I probably saw a performance of the Nutcracker when I was in first grade with Melissa Hayden and Jacques D'Amboise,
Right.
that I hated. It was boring. I think in high school I may have seen the Murray Lewis Dance Company, and I really didn't get what they were doing. So this whole idea of, this tradition of dance and it being this,
ballet, like the
but
traditional
I really
ballet.
had none of that.
Had you ever put on a pair of pointe shoes before you joined?
No. So in those days, it was kind of a go for it and learn on the job. And after about 4 weeks in the company, I found myself in a performance in the core of Swan Lake on pointe. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Very scary. I never got injured. I was strong, but still.
I don't never say never. Paul Gislin always said that it was like, if you're a strong dancer and you're strong, it's not so much that you can't do it. Your body can do it, is overcoming that fear factor, because it really just feel like your body is in stilts and you like on top of stilts, and you spend all this time understanding where your center of gravity is. Right. And all of a sudden you have to relearn that to incorporate these extra 5-6 inches.
So I have to say that in my time in the company, my point work got better. It improved, but it was like on the job training.
It wasn't there when you joined. It was not something that was required at the time. No. I mean, to this day, we will not turn you away if you don't have pointe shoe experience, because we know that not everybody has the opportunity, especially not at the time that you're talking about training. That wasn't heard of. Not all the teachers encouraged it or allowed you to do it.
No.
So, yeah. Well, I'm glad it didn't deter you from auditioning to the company, because you had already trained with such a group of luminaries. In my time with the company, the whole 20 plus years I've been with the Trocks, I've always known you because you've always been related to the Trocks, and one of the people that have always kept a close connection to the company. But it's only in recent years that you have taken on the role of education manager. Tell us a little bit about how did that actual involvement came about? Was that Tori that asked you to do it, or Liz? How did that come up?
So about 4 years ago, my history with Tori goes back a very long time, because I had taken a small hiatus, and when I saw that the company was hiring again, I said to Tori, who I knew from taking class at Finest Young, you should come with me. If you don't have a job, I'm sure they'll hire us. And they hired both of us at the time, so it was kind of fun.
Your second go around was when Tori joined, like
yes. The first time, no, he was not. He wasn't there. It was a totally different company. That second go around, the company kind of almost reinvented itself in terms of personnel, morale, how things were run. It was a totally different story. And
what you know the company to be now?
What? Sorry.
It reinvented itself closer to what you know the company to be now.
Closer.
Yeah.
Not
the same.
now it's a great situation, but it was much better. It was much better. And then I was on my second go around. I could bring in what I had experienced when I had not my time away from the company, which was I had worked with a lot of different people. I had gotten to work with Takako Asakawa and David Hatchwalker in their company. But there, I began to learn that I was a specific kind of dancer. I had also done Yiddish theater. I had and danced in it and danced with like a luminary of Yiddish theater. And I had also done some liturgical dancing at St. John the Divine. But what I learned from David Hatch Walker was really, it probably drove me eventually back to the company. I was rehearsing a piece with David Hatch Walker, Rhapsody in Blue. And I thought, Graham technique, Rhapsody in Blue, how do they go together? This must be an hysterically funny piece. So I was in rehearsal for this piece with him going, you know, like, all this like exaggerated Graham, ridiculous stuff. And he stopped the rehearsal and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Isn't this supposed to be funny?" And there was this silence. Everybody in the studio moved back, and I was just standing there. And he said, he called someone's name and he said, "Can you take Roy's spot? Roy, you're going to understudy this." So I was like, so in the dressing room, someone said, "You thought it was funny?" And I said, "I did."
And that's when you realized maybe it was time to get back to
Yes, maybe it was time to go back. But anyway.